we're going to go ahead and review Red November. Red November is a cooperative board game where you and the other players are on board a gnomish submarine trying to save it from sinking.
Attention. To ensure your safety.
While you're playing, you are just trying to make it to the time when the rescue is going to come. Red November is for 3 to 8 players, but it's really best with about 4 to 6. You can play with 2 players, as long as you're comfortable with each player controlling 2 gnomes. It's pretty tight aboard a submarine. I think that's why the game's about gnomes. They're the only ones that can fit on it. The main mechanic in Red November is time. You and the other gnomes are each spending time to take out the actions. You know, the submarine's on fire, it's falling apart, and really what you need to do is spend time to move around, open and close portholes like these, which take a lot of time, and just basically do the actions you need. Problem is, as you take more time, bad events are going to happen. There's going to be event cards, they're going to get drawn, and just random things will happen in kind of normal co-op game style. Really interesting is that players are spending their own time. So you are advancing your gnome along the time track, and once your gnome is furthest in time, you're not going to act again until you're in last place. Until everybody else has advanced on the time track past you, that's when you're going to be able to act. So you can take as much time as you want on your turn, but, you know, if you want to work together, you'll need to want to be around the same time so you can coordinate. The submarine is divided up into rooms, and you and the other gnomes are going to be moving about through the rooms taking actions. For example, if you're in the engine room, like I am, your action is going to be trying to fix the engine. Because if the engine is not fixed, eventually the submarine is going to sink. The main things that make the game challenging there are a number of things that can go wrong, and if they go really wrong, the game is going to end. For example, if you run out of oxygen, if the engines don't work, or if the submarine catches too much fire, it's going to sink. There's also, and those are represented by tracks on the board. As they go up, once they hit the top, you're screwed. So it's up to you and the other players to go to the prerequisite room, like the engine room, and spend your time fixing the engines. But as I said before, as you spend time doing stuff, bad events are going to happen. So you can try to fix something, succeed or fail. You try to do something, the more time you spend, you have a better chance of success by rolling dice. And if you fail, it can still go wrong. And on top of that, you're causing events to occur. Speaking of events, there's some events that'll happen and if not dealt with in a certain amount of time, like the missiles launching or the reactor overheating, then the game also ends. So you need to balance the creeping concerns, like fire spreading or running out of oxygen, with the catastrophe events. While Red November is cooperative, there's some wrinkles. If you, for example, manage to squeeze out and escape while and you basically deal with this kraken on the outside of the ship, or on the outside of the sub, and make it out with your aqua lung, which is an item you can pick up. If you survive and the ship sinks, you alone actually win. So there's a very slight tension and cooperative element where you want everybody to work together enough to save the sub, but hey, if it can't be saved and someone gets out alive, they're the actual winner. I wonder if the submarine in Red November has a poison antidote locker on it. One of the things about being aboard a submarine is there's going to be items. There's stuff stashed everywhere. When you search for an item in a room, which takes time, you'll draw a card. That card represents an item, like, say, a fire extinguisher or machine tools that are going to help you with one of the tasks. One of your challenges is going to be to direct you and the other players to get people to basically attack the task that they're most equipped to do. So maybe that person is closest, so they don't have to spend as much time, or maybe they're further away, but they have an item that's necessary. It's only possible to guarantee success if you spend a lot of time. So having an item lets you spend a little bit less time, but still take the chance that you could fail. Is a game about intersecting related problems. For example, rooms like this, can fill up with water. If they fill up completely with water, you're not going to be able to enter until you open a porthole and drain the water to equalize it between two rooms. But hey, if that room was on fire, if you flood it with water, that'll put the fire out. But now that it's flooded, you're closer to the sub sinking. So to make it to rescue, you're going to need to balance these concerns, and you're not going to be able to be perfect. That brings me to another point. Red November is a pretty standard cooperative game, and it doesn't really have mechanisms in place to prevent an alpha gamer from torpedoing it for everybody else. So really, if you wanted to play the game by yourself and control all the gnomes, you could, and that really starts to show itself when you're playing with multiple players. So just be aware when you're choosing who to play with that if there's someone who's a really strong alpha gamer, you might not want to play this game with them. If you're okay playing a cooperative game where the tension and the just nasty events randomly increase, you're going to enjoy it. Random events are going to come out, fires are going to break out, there's going to be flooding, the reactor's going to go, and the fun of the game is in seeing if you can respond to these events. There's not a huge amount of strategy, it's basically a game about group risk mitigation. If you feel it's worth having an absolute chance of success to fix a problem, and you do it, great, but that time is going to cause problems. If you want to have a low chance but spend as little time as possible, great, but you're going to have a higher risk. And forming that risk-reward balance is really the core of the gameplay. Measuring how close you can get to rescue even if you don't win, that's really your measure of success. This is not a game where you're going to expect to win every time just because of how random the events and challenges and the interaction of them are. Red November isn't as elegant as some of the other co-op games out there. It's a little fiddly. For example, if you're looking for something that's maybe better for newer co-op gamers or maybe has less ambiguity, you might want something like one of Matt Leacock's cooperative games. But Red November has a lot going for it, and it's the inspiration for a lot of co-ops that have come after it, and even games in other mediums. For example, Faster Than Light is a computer game about managing little crew members aboard a spaceship trying to make it through the galaxy while everything is falling apart, running out of oxygen, on fire. It really feels kind of like a real-time Red November moved into the future and in a different medium. So if you like Red November, or you like the concept, you might also like some of the things that it's inspired. Red November is currently out of print, but if you'd like your own copy, watch it and keep an eye out on your friendly local game store, or at Amazon, link below in the doobly-doo. I hope we're not diving.